All right, today we're going to crack open a topic you probably haven't really thought about since you were, what, 6 years old? We're talking about numbers. Not some complex algebra, but the very meaning of the numbers we use every single day. We're going to explore how educators teach this fundamental idea now, and trust me, it might just change the way you look at math.
Okay, let's just jump right in with a question. You see the number 47. You know what it is. You can read it, you can use it, but what does it really mean? I mean, if you had to explain it to someone from scratch, beyond just saying it's the number that comes after 46, it seems so simple, right? But the answer is actually pretty deep.
So to make this real, let's use a scenario from an actual lesson plan we're looking at. Imagine this. You're at the top of the Burj Khalifa looking down at all the traffic, and you count 47 cars. Now, how would you explain that exact amount to a kid who's just learning? You can't just point to a 47. You have to explain what those two little digits, the 4 and the 7, are actually doing together to represent that group of cars.
And that right there brings us to the heart of it all. What does a number really, truly mean? Let's break down the challenge that modern math teaching is trying to solve.
So here's the real kicker. In the number 47, that 4 isn't just a 4. It doesn't represent 4 cars. No, it represents 4 groups of 10 cars. It's a 40. And the 7? Well, that represents 7 individual cars. For a young mind, that is a huge abstract leap. And helping them make that leap, well, that's the whole game.
So how do they do it? How do we teach that? Well, educators have a system. You can almost think of it as a secret code that unlocks how our entire number system actually works. And that secret code is called place value. It's this simple but incredibly powerful idea that a digit's value, whether a 4 means 4 or 40 or even 400, depends completely on where it's sitting inside the number. Once a student really gets this, they basically have the master key to all of arithmetic. It's that fundamental. Now, to crack this code, students have to learn a new language. You'll see words pop up in these lessons like digit, tens, ones, and partition. But, don't think of them as just vocabulary to memorize. They're more like tools for a mental toolkit, ways to take numbers apart and put them back together again. So let's look at the first major strategy teachers use, literally breaking numbers down into their component parts to see what's inside. This is where that deep understanding really starts to get built. You see, to make this abstract stuff feel real, teachers use physical things, like these straws. So on the left, you've got 1 straw. That's a 1. Simple enough. But look at the right. When you bundle 10 of those ones together, you don't just have 10 straws anymore, you have 110. And what's so brilliant about this is that it shows that 110 is both a single thing, 1 bundle, and 10 things at the very same time. And this leads us to that technique I mentioned, partitioning. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's teaching students how to kind of surgically break numbers apart into their pieces to really understand how they're built. A really key tool for this is the part-whole model you see here. It's super simple but really effective. The whole number, in this case 35, goes in that top circle, and then you just break it into its parts below. So the most obvious way is to split it by place value, 30 and 5. But check this out, and this is what's really cool. This slide shows that the true goal here isn't just about finding one right answer. Sure, 35 is 30 and 5, of course, but it's also 20 and 15. And hey, it's also 10 and 25. Getting kids to see this flexibility, that's the real goal. And that's exactly why the most important question a teacher can ask isn't what's the answer, but this, pulled straight from the lesson plan. Is there another way you can break the number apart? See? This pushes kids to explore and think deeply, instead of just memorizing a single procedure.
Okay, so that's strategy number 1, taking numbers apart. The second big strategy is all about seeing how numbers fit together in a sequence. And for that, educators turn to the good old number line. I'm telling you, this simple line is one of the most powerful tools in early math. Why? Because it transforms numbers from these abstract symbols into actual positions in space. It makes their order and the distance between them something you can actually see and feel. So a classic exercise is to get students to compare 2 number lines like these. The one on top goes from 0 to 10, counting up in ones. The one on the bottom goes from 0 to 100, but it counts up in tens. Then the teacher asks that simple but powerful question, what is the same and what is different? And just like that, kids start to see the pattern. The whole base 10 structure of our number system is laid out right there on the page.
And here's how they actually practice this.
They get exercises just like this one, where they have to complete the number line by filling in those missing jumps of 10. It's a really active way to get that counting in tens pattern locked into their brains.
And this all builds up to another one of those fantastic critical thinking questions. What actually happens to the digits every time we jump forward by 10? Kids start to realize, whoa, the tens digit goes up by 1 every time, but the ones digit, it stays the same. That's a huge discovery.
So we've seen these two big strategies, taking numbers apart with partitioning and then lining them up on a number line to see how they relate. But what's the end game here? What is all of this hard work actually building towards?
The ultimate goal isn't just about getting questions right on a test. It's about building a genuine, deep, intuitive feel for numbers. It's knowing that, yeah, 35 is 30 and 5, but that it can also be 20 and 15, and understanding when one way of seeing it might be more useful than another. It's about developing an instinct for how numbers actually behave.
And what's really amazing is that the focus is just as much on the student's confidence as it is on their correctness. These lesson plans actually use these fun self-assessment tools where kids identify if they feel like a confident camel who totally gets it, or maybe a trying turtle who's getting there but could use a little more help. It's about building self-awareness, not just a list of right answers.
This whole thing, this intuitive, flexible, deep understanding, it has a name. Educators call it number sense. And it is, without a doubt, the absolute bedrock for all future success in math. If you don't have it, you're just memorizing rules, but if you do have it, you're actually thinking mathematically.
Which of course leaves us with one final thought to chew on. We've just looked at this modern way of teaching kids what numbers are at their very core. So the question is, how does building that kind of deep, flexible foundation change how we learn what numbers can do when we start adding, subtracting, and moving on to everything else? Something to think about.